Hi everyone, welcome back to the conversation. I'm Alexia Landa, and today we're going to talk all about spirituality, which we always do. So I'm very excited. But today the episode is really going to be focused on beginners. I had this epiphany called my brother calling me out. So I was talking to my brother on the phone. He was like, "Oh my god, I saw you have all these episodes." But then I was listening and there's just so many vocabulary, so many definitions that I don't know. By the way, you're talking about someone who grew up with me, who knows me very well. I was like, okay, then there's something off. Then I really need to talk about the definitions for those who are new, for those who haven't been here the past 2 years. And they've really got me excited to think of kind of focusing on topics that to me might be simple, might be as if I already talked about them, but I love them and I'm so passionate about them that I get to talk about what I love the most. The simplest form of just being us, which is what is it to be spiritual? What is spirituality? And that's why I use the tool of listening. I love listening. I love someone you love and loves you so deeply gets to observe you and be like, wow, like that's that's you. Let me just get to know you a little more. Yes, I've known you your whole life. Or I mean, he's 22, so he's known me for 22 years, but there's something there. I think I don't know these new definitions or the way you're explaining it now that you are at this age or this stage or with now 5 years of actually being a channeler professionally, because I've been a channeler since I was a little girl. I just, now that it's a profession, now that I use it on my day to day with people that I don't know and I need to explain and define rather than just using it because it's my reality and it's something that comes so easy to me. It hits different. It's nice. It really got me excited to. I'm always excited to record, but it just really got me excited for this episode. So this episode is really going to be for beginners and those who are not beginners who've been here for the past 2 years will maybe have like a moment of remembering really why I started and what spirituality is and how me as a channeler I define it and how I practice it in my lifestyle, which is I think what matters. I practice what I preach and I really like to share what I do. So I'm just very excited. But I hope everyone's been having an amazing week. Personally, my voice has been coming back and forth. I lose it one day, then it's back. I was supposed to record this, I think, last night or a day before today, and I had like no voice. And then my neighbors were like having a party, so we could hear the music. At first, I was like, okay, they're gonna hear good music on the background. I can try to, take it off a little, um, but I guess no music. No, it wasn't meant to be. I had no voice. So I'm excited for today. I'm excited to talk about all of this and just it reminds me that the simplest form, the simplest thing of being us is the most important part. So sometimes I forget a little bit about that, how definitions are very important because I just use the words like if everyone knows. So today I actually have notes. Believe it or not, I have notes for this podcast. Those who know me, those who've been listening to me know that when I record for an episode, I really just go by my channel. I go by what I'm channeling, what I'm feeling, what I sense in the energy, and I just go off for 30 to an hour, 30 minutes to an hour just talking about what the vibration is saying, what the energy is going to look like, what tools to focus on. But this conversation is going to amplify now. I'm really, again, I'm listening and I'm really enjoying the tool of listening. It's going to amplify. I'm going to start having notes, and these notes are going to be about explaining even past. episodes of certain things that people have questions about. I started noticing I was asking a lot of questions about the episodes on DMs and emails and not really including everyone that listens to this. So just having that conversation with my brother of I know you so well, but at the end of the day, I feel like I'm a beginner and I need a beginner's episode. It just made me really understand that maybe I do need notes and that's okay. And I'm being vulnerable here because that's a tool I love to use, that vulnerability of okay, I'm learning something new and it's exciting. Okay, now I have notes. Literally, I can show you guys if you're watching the video, but if you're just listening, I'm showing the post it because I love sticky notes. I always share on my stories all the sticky notes I end up with after I speak to my clients because, and I color code them by the way by emotion. Emotions is energy in motion. So I color code as I'm feeling before connecting what emotion the person is very connected to. And I pick that color. And if I don't have that color with me, I just write the name of the color on top and pick like the next emotion that I really connect to before connecting with the client. So I love sticky notes. It's always going to be the place I write my notes in and then I transcribe to my computer. And I just get to look back and notice the growth in my clients, in me, in everything. It's just beautiful. So today is like a breakthrough for this podcast, a breakthrough of now we do have notes. So I'm going to be, I wrote down what a beginner's almost like guide would be, a beginner's guide to understand what you're going to be listening to in this podcast, what you're going to be connecting to, what I focus on, and what the conversations truly are about, which is truly about a day-to-day life. I focus on making spirituality your day to day without feeling disconnected, without feeling like you have to go somewhere to be spiritual. You have to look a certain way to be spiritual. You have to be a certain way to be spiritual. It's more about how to understand your spirit, to connect it to your own lifestyle and how you want the spirit to look. So the notes I have are those definitions, what I focus on the most. And from there, we'll see where the conversation ends because at the end of the day, I'm still going to be me. So I'm still going to be vibing and seeing how this channel wants to connect and how whatever comes up, what tool I feel like we need to talk about today. So, going to start off with spirituality. What is spirituality? It sounds so simple, but then it's been made so complicated and and I want to emphasize on it's not something we're lacking. It's not supposed to be connected to the language of lack. It's not something you're disconnected from. It's not something that you are far away from. Spirituality is you're born with it because we are spirits. We are a fraction of light of God, which means the what gives us life, that spirit, that fraction comes from a creator. And that creator, each fraction becomes us. So we are co creators. We are co creators of the creator. And the creator is such a loving and, and unconditional love, such a light that it gave us free will. And free will means that we get to decide, we get to choose. But it doesn't mean that we are the creator. So it doesn't mean that we actually have control of the external or we have control of how what we choose and decide is truly going to look. So there's a consequence in everything. If you choose to give love, you're going to receive love. You just can't decide exactly from who, when, where, or how. That's the creator's work. So you are co creating an energy. You're co creating that fraction of light. And that fraction of light, as it's co created, it gives you a result. That result that comes from the creator is usually unexpected, or it can sometimes be expected because it's so simple that it's like, well, I gave my mom love, I received love from her, but it's not always as simple. And that's where people believe that we are not spiritual, we need to do more, we need to become more. But there's this activation within us that has to be made to understand spirituality. And spirituality is that language of your spirit, following your authenticity. And authenticity is your channel, it's that fraction of light of God. So, in the simplest way of seeing this, is that everything is spiritual because everything is co created by us. So, either it's coming from the creator because it's co created by us, in the understanding that we have no control where it's coming from. We have no control of, if I give love, how's the other person going to respond? How's the other person's free will going to react? And that's when you understand that you're just responsible of you. And being responsible of you means, well, sometimes I need to look in a different direction. I need to focus on a different thing. I need to focus this light, this fraction of light, this spirit that I am, into something else where the results start looking different. So, spirituality is the experience of the spirit. So, being spiritual means that you have life. That's what it means. So, becoming spiritual is not a truth. You are spiritual because you're born with the spirit. But becoming connected to your channel is actually the self awareness of, how am I using this channel, this fraction of light, responsibly? How am I listening to it? How am I reflecting it? How am I projecting it? Because that's what I'm responsible of. God said, you have this fraction of me. How are you going to make it look? Are you going to make it look uh, in a way that is authentic? Are you going to be okay with being you? Are you going to fall in love with you? Or are you always going to be against everything I gave you? So, being spiritual is life. Being in that activation of your channel is becoming responsible of, how am I using this? How am I using the free will? How am I using this light? Because usually people tell me, well, what is my purpose? I say, your purpose is to give everything purpose. We give things purpose, we give things meaning. So, how are you co creating purpose in this lifetime? That's being spiritual. And you do it even if you're not conscious of it, because whatever you're focusing on, you're giving it purpose, you're giving it meaning. We give things meaning. So that's spirituality, that's co creation, that's truly using your channel. So when you become conscious of, okay, so I'm born spiritual, I don't have to become spiritual. I am a fraction of light of God. So there's a creator and I'm the co-creator. And being part of this co-creation is using my free will, which means there is a cause and effect. There's a consequence in every action because I'm responsible of this fraction of light. And making it look good is going to give me a consequence that makes me feel comfortable. Then being spiritual is actually simple. It's not about trying, it's not about seeking. In this channel, you're not going to hear me talk about manifestation because truly, the only way to manifest is if you're the creator. Because manifestation is about control. The only thing you can do as a human is co create with the creator. Co creation means you connect to energy. And connecting to an energy is that with emotion, energy, and motion, you start guiding something to be co created. And it's as simple as saying, okay, right now, I want a cake, but I cannot go buy one. So there's always going to be some sort of limitation, and you start seeing limitation as a tool. You start understanding that we always have what we need, not necessarily what we want, because what we need takes us to what we want. So I want a cake, and I can't go get one, but I have all the ingredients. Okay, so how am I going to use my energy in motion? What emotion am I going to choose? Well, I'm going to choose the emotion of excitement. So I'm going to cook, I'm going to bake that cake with excitement, energy, and motion. Okay, so you have an intention right there: cake, emotion, excitement. Now, intention is giving a direction. Now, the action is going to give a consequence. You start connecting to the energy. The action is baking it, is getting the ingredients, doing all the action needed. The result, the consequence might be an amazing cake. It might be a cake that you still need to work on. So if it's a cake that you still need to work on and be like, well, it didn't come out the way I wanted to, what is life teaching you? Well, you need to practice. You co created a cake, but you still need practice. So it's a connection. And that connection comes from your inner team. This inner team is that feeling. The feeling was, I feel like a cake would be nice right now. Then you decided and you said, yeah, I'll do the cake. Doesn't matter anything else. We're just using a simple example. Yeah, okay, a cake. Then you see your options and you say, well, I can't go drive to get one, so I'll bake one. Okay, intention. Now choose your emotion, energy and motion, excitement. I'm excited to bake one. I've never baked one. This is new to me. Okay, so you have what you need to get what you want. And if you see it in the responsible way of, I am a spirit, I am spiritual, and I'm being responsible of my co creation, then you start seeing it divine. You start seeing it as a blessing. I get to bake a cake. Instead of being like, oh my God, now I have to bake a cake because I can't go get one. I would love to go just get one, it would just be so nice. And I'm not saying you can't have these moments. I've had them all the time. I'm like, well, it would be just nice if I just had what I wanted, but I always have what I need because it's going to teach me something about me. And that's the most beautiful gift, to get to know you at a deeper level every single time. And if you learn, if you notice everything that you need to notice, you won't have to go through that again. You won't need it again. You'll activate the tool. So you baked the cake. It wasn't exactly how you wanted it to be. So you ask yourself, okay, do I need to bake another one? Why would this be enough? Well, maybe I had to learn that I maybe did everything too fast. I wasn't patient enough. So I had to observe myself as, oh, I get it now. I'm lacking patience. So I need to learn how to activate the tool of patience. Oh, well, yeah, I didn't really measure everything as I should. So I need to learn the tool of being okay with someone else knowing a little more than I do. Because someone else had baked it already, so they had wisdom on baking. So now I know how to receive, and I use the tool of receiving. That's that is co-creating. And you start co-creating your life instantly. because you start accepting that spirituality is simple, that you're not here to seek, that you're not here to chase, that you're not here to be in a state of constant feeling of nothing is enough, or I don't have what I want, so I have to really work for it. You're in the state of, oh, there's something I want and I don't have, then what do I have around me that is exactly what I needed to co create what I want? This is an opportunity to get to know me. And the process activates tools. So the moment you activate a tool, you get to know a deeper side of you. You get to become self aware. You get to become conscious. And it doesn't have to be in a tough way, it doesn't have to be in a way where you don't feel like enough. You just understand I'm in constant evolution, I'm in constant getting to know myself. And it doesn't mean I'm lacking something because we're born with everything. It just means that life helps me activate all these things to get to know my highest potential. Because I want everyone to imagine this amazing fraction of light that you are in heaven with where we come from. And this fraction of light, by the way, this is just, it's how I visualize it. It's fun for me. How I visualize it, this fraction of light takes the psychedelic. The moment they take it, they're human. They're like, oh, why am I a human? What is this experience about? Well, you're here to learn how to feel, understand energy, how to choose energy, how to move energy, how to love unconditionally, how to not choose judgment, and understand you're not here to be a judge. And as you experience this, you're going to remember that all the tools have always been within you, and everything around you is everything you need to understand that tool. So at the end of the day, the biggest consequence, the biggest result is your highest potential, your higher self, which is what we call our spirit. And being spiritual is our essence. That's what it is. That's what it is. And that fraction of light is that essence, is understanding that we're not here to be everything. We can be everything, but there is some sort of limit with time and space for a reason. So that we can be in the now, embracing, embodying whatever tools we have around for a reason. And it's divine. And understanding that as you go through evolution, you are changing, you are accepting change, you are accepting activation of new tools. So if you're focused on one thing right now as you're co-creating another, let both exist. Let them both be part of you. Because you can activate many things in one lifetime. But it doesn't mean that you need to be in a hurry. It doesn't mean that you need to think that limitation of some sort like time and space is a bad thing. No, it means that that's what you're here to learn. And it's beautiful, it's divine. So understanding your channel is understanding that responsibility, understanding that language of your spirit is understanding that feeling that you get that you can't ignore, that it might be very subtle. And I always tell this to my clients. The first thing I start with is, tell me what are the top 5 emotions you have in a day, because that's the energy you're choosing. And if you have those five emotions every single day, then you're having the same day every single day, because that's the energy and motion that you're moving in. And it doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It just means that if you're not co-creating exactly what you want, you're not using everything you need that you have around. So you have to make sure you're using all the potential around you. And that's not to feel pressured. That's to make everything you have feel like enough. And say, oh, okay, so if I'm always in the energy of motion and the emotion of anger, when I notice that my monthly bills come in, then I'm telling my fraction of light that those bills are connected to the energy of motion of anger. So anything that is connected to anger will come in because that's right now what I need. I still haven't activated the next tool. I still haven't understood the tool of anger. But if you switch it and you say, okay, now when I see my monthly bills, I'll connect to the energy of motion of power. Wow, I feel powerful. I get to pay them. I am worthy of paying this. I'm worthy of paying an apartment monthly fee for myself. I'm worthy to pay the water bill. I'm worthy to go buy groceries for me because I'm worthy of those things. And you start connecting to an energy of motion and emotion of power that feels balanced. What is your fraction of light going to say? It's going to start channeling a different type of tool. So you're going to go to work feeling powerful. You're going to go to work and show with power. So what's that going to do? It's going to connect to power. It's going to connect to a different type of intention. Now you're going to go to work and say, yeah, I go to work because I love to get things for myself. I love to get things for my family. What's that going to connect to? More work. However, you want to work. What is that going to connect to? Worthiness. What is that going to connect to? Abundance, wealth, energy in motion, your rhythm, your inner rhythm. You're choosing. It is a choice. That's what free will is about. Almost like when people say, well, they smiled at me, but I didn't believe it. I usually tell people to not take that personal because usually it's the energy and motion people are moving in. And that's why you can't believe them because maybe they are smiling and they want to be happy for you or for someone else, but their energy and motion is probably frustration. So even if in that moment they feel happy, if they're in the energy of motion of frustration, the happiness is not going to be felt by others because that's not the rhythm you're in. That's not the intention that's being reflected. So your fraction of light is almost being blocked because, again, the language of your fraction of light, of your channel, of your spirit, at the end of the day, they all equal to be the same, is the feeling. So when you decide to be in an energy of motion, of flow, of acceptance, of receiving, you start letting that feeling guide you and be okay to turn it into an emotion. And this is when usually it's blocked because, of course, there's trauma, there are wounds, there's people who've made fun of other people, anything could happen. Everyone has a different story. Personally, I thought me feeling was very weak. And then I understood it's not weak. I would really hide it. That's why I didn't want to say I was a channeler for so long. That's why I didn't want to speak up. I used to be known to not really talk because I didn't want to lie. So if I spoke, I was either weird or what is she saying or why is she being so open or oh my god, she speaks the truth. And people usually don't love the truth. And of course, delivery is very important, but there's usually no language of the feelings. So there's no language of the spirit, of the fraction of light. So spirituality is really about authenticity and you being a co-creator with the how you look, what you look like. No, it's about your foundation. All those tools you're activating. Okay, I'm activating the tool of self-awareness. Amazing. I'm activating the tool of honesty. Okay, but let's also connect it to the tool of delivery because when we're honest, doesn't mean we need to be harsh. So you start building your inner home, and your inner home has this foundation of tools. And that toolbox gets bigger and bigger and bigger because you're everything. So you decide where you're going to activate because you can also go on the direction of I'm going to activate the tool of frustration. It's a tool, it's a teacher. So go for it, learn from it. We've all been there at some point. But don't stay in the tool of shame and that energy. So I want everyone to understand how simple spirituality is, how simple it is to truly be in the language of your spirit, be in the language of the creator, be in the language of being a co creator. Being a co creator is connection, not attraction. Because when you connect, you're not afraid to lose. You connect. When you connect, you're not afraid to make a mistake because you understand that you have a foundation in which you're responsible enough to use consciously, that if anything truly goes wrong, you have something to support you, which is that inner team, that inner home that you have within you. When you start being in the path of manifestation, it usually the attraction, the chasing, the seeking might ask you to be a bit selfish because when you understand that we're here to connect, that we are fractions of light of God and everyone is a fraction of light of God. So as a whole, we are the whole light being reflected here. So we're a reflection of God. We understand that we're a team. That if I see someone fall, it does hurt me because it is a ripple effect. There is a consequence. So we cannot be selfish. It is true that if you want to help someone, you need to be okay. You need to think about you in the sense of, okay, I first need to help me to then help someone else. Yes, very true. Because you need to be connected to that fraction of light. You need to be connected to the activation of tools to be able to help others. That's why I talk about it as a responsibility. But it doesn't mean that if someone falls, you're not going to feel. And when you go into a path of disconnection that is only seeking and attracting and wanting more, more, and more, you are disconnected from everyone else, from that connection of humanity, of being human, of humbleness, of being connected to others. You forget to listen, you forget to observe, you forget that everyone is a fraction of light of God, so everyone is powerful, so everyone is beautiful, so everyone is capable. And yes, I understand that some don't use all their tools. Some people don't activate all their tools. Some people are activating their tools at some at a different pace than you, and that's okay. That's beautiful, but it doesn't mean that they're behind, above, below. No, it just means that they're in a different timeline in their path, and that's okay. So if we start connecting rather than chasing, we start understanding that it's okay to be in your own path where you are instead of comparing yourself. And by the way, I use the tool of competitiveness a lot. I'm a very competitive person, but I've always been competitive with myself. And that tool is a tool that you have to really understand how to use, because you also have to be able to listen to your physical body when it needs rest. You also have to be able to listen to external people telling you, hey, slow down. We don't want you to fall because you're almost falling. So that tool needs reinforcement as well. So you can be competitive, but be competitive with yourself. And the tool of competitiveness doesn't mean that you're not going to have compassion to your old self. You're still going to love your old self and be like, yeah, I've activated way more tools by now. I feel way better now. I see myself way happier now. But I still love you. I still love that version of me because that version of me had to learn so much. That version of me was still a fraction of light of God and was still so spiritual because spirituality is the experience. Again, we're born with that essence. So I want everyone to think about what you're giving purpose. What are you giving purpose and why? And this is when I also want to emphasize that the external world, what we co-create as humanity, as a society, what we might call as material, it's a symbolism of whatever we give it meaning for, whatever we give it purpose for. It doesn't mean that because someone has the same purse, it means the same thing for each. So it's about understanding that truly, no matter how much people think that we're all uh, doing things for the same reason, everyone's doing it for different reasons. And that's meant to be. That's a fraction of light. And we are meant to be authentic. And although we are so similar, we're so different as well, each individual. And the best example I can use is family. When I look at my siblings, at my mom, at, at my whole family, I see all the differences. I see it so clearly. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so different. And I always say this: don't try to disconnect by saying you're the black sheep. And I'll explain. I look at my family and I say, okay, I'm so different. I am. But then I really pay attention and I'm like, wait, I'm so similar to them in so many ways. So that balance is meant to be because in your family, you're meant to bring something different. We are also, just like we're fractions of light of the Creator, we're fractions of each parent. So we are 50-50, 50 our dad, 50 our mom. And of mom and dad, we bring a fraction that the siblings didn't. We connect to a fraction that the siblings didn't. So when people say, well, the oldest is like this parent and the middle child is like this parent and so on, it's been, I want people to understand it's not that it's meant to be that way. is that it starts that way, but it's an evolution. Personally, being the oldest, when I was younger, I noticed the fraction of my father. I did. I went through the work. I understood the tools I needed to activate. And now I notice my mom's fraction. And as I channeled, I understood that it's not that we're meant to just be one fraction, it's that we're meant to be both. But along the years, along the stages in our lives, certain fractions activate. So we are meant to be different in stages of our lives, but our essence doesn't change. That authenticity at the end of the day doesn't change. So whenever you feel very different, don't call yourself the black sheep. If I ask my siblings, they're going to say, no, I'm probably the black sheep, but no, you are because you're like this. But no, I am because I'm like, no, because I don't feel understood in this. We're not meant to be understood in everything. We're meant to understand ourselves first to be able to communicate who we are. We can't expect our parents to know everything. We can't expect our parents to understand ourselves because they are also trying to understand themselves. So, whenever it comes to differences, don't exclude yourself. Connect to you, connect to your spirit, connect to your feeling, connect to your fraction of light. And then let us know what you understood so we can understand you. That's why communication is key. If you're a person who doesn't love communication, look around you who's really good at communicating, learn from them. If you're a person who's really good at communicating but not good at listening, look around who's good at listening, learn from them. Family is supposed to be different because you're supposed to learn from one another. It's your biggest school, family. And the reason why it's the biggest school and the biggest teachers and the most important ones is because they have the biggest impact because that's who we love the most. You can fall out of love with family, and sometimes it's necessary. Sometimes boundaries are necessary. I understand that. There are tools that are activated there. There's things in lineage that need to be healed, so you can't connect anymore. But don't disconnect just because you feel different. That's not an attack. Feeling misunderstood is not an attack. It's just a wake up call to connect to your spirit. And it's the most beautiful path because then you can come back and explain. And maybe they'll get to understand something about themselves too. Be like, oh, I get it now. And it's about taking in that responsibility of, am I communicating? How am I communicating with myself? How am I connecting to the spirit? How am I voicing the spirit? And what do I want to connect it to? But if you're chasing and seeking and wanting, instead of just seeing what you have around, which is what you need, to then connect it to a want, then you're always going to feel like something is missing. Then you're always going to feel unfulfilled. Then you're always going to feel like you don't have what you wanted. Instead of noticing what you have, instead of noticing that you have everything you needed. I've, I've, I always focus on talking about how blessed we are because I don't feel like I was someone who was privileged as a the younger me. But if you ask me now, as a 29-year-old, I was privileged. And the privilege wasn't a stable home. The privilege wasn't having everything I wanted. The privilege wasn't having a father who stayed. The privilege wasn't feeling pretty. the privilege wasn't being popular, or all these things that maybe I thought I wanted. Having all the new stuff, all the new clothes, all the privilege wasn't that. That's probably how I thought I wasn't privileged. The true privilege was always being conscious that what was around me was love, even when I didn't understand it. And I'll use my brother as an example, since he is the one that guided, pretty much, he guided this podcast episode, by the way, because he made me think of a beginner's question and a beginner's topic. So I had the questions. I probably didn't answer all of them, you guys, but I'll go back to them. Um, but my brother and I are complete opposites in the most beautiful way. And I'm not saying necessarily he said this before, but to me, he's my best friend. My brother and my sister are my best friends. But right now, focusing on him being my best friend means that him being the complete opposite, he shows me how my communication skills, the the way I ask questions, the way I want to know everything. I've always been a very curious person. I always want to know the why. Okay, but why? Because not because I'm questioning someone, but because I care and I want to know more, and why, how do you feel, and what emotion, and where does it come from, and it makes sense because I understand the spirit's language that I want to get to even if I feel people's authenticity as a channeler, it's so easy to me. I just love to have those conversations. He always calls me out on the more mundane things. He grounds me back. I can be flying in the sky and being in the energy as a channeler and channeling, and he grounds me back to the ground, and in the most beautiful way of calling me out on things that I don't notice. And he's just so wise in that way because he uses it also for what he does. He's so wise to ground information to say, okay, you're up in the sky, but let's make it a little more human. Let's make it a little more like here and now, because you're like a light years away from the now. I'm like, okay, you're right. So he helped me understand that language. I could have chosen two paths. I could have chosen the path of, oh my God, he doesn't understand me, he's against me, he doesn't love me because he doesn't accept me for who I am. But I chose the path of love, of unconditional love, because I understood he was a mirror I wanted to embody, embrace, understand, respect. I understood God gave me someone very special. And I went on the path of unconditional love. I opened up. I've never been the older sister who needs to know more and understand more. I think it's three of us. I think we're all equal. Um, because at the end of the day, I learn from my 15-year-old sister all the time, just like she chooses to learn from me. And it just opened up this relationship where I have someone who, whenever I'm really up in the energy and I don't know how to translate it for you guys, I go to. And I tell him, okay, this is how I see it, this is how I feel it. And he comes up with like one phrase. I'm like, yes, that's what I'm trying to say. So I want everyone to understand we have what we need. Maybe not what we wanted. Maybe I wanted someone who was, I don't know. I don't even know. I don't even know anymore. That was me, the younger self. So I really don't remember. But I have everything I need. Then I have a little sister who's very feisty and in a beautiful way. She's just the life of the party. ever since she came to our lives, she was the life of the party. She makes someone laugh. She's good at making people laugh. She's good at partying, and not in a way that that's all she does. She's just really good at bringing in so much joy. And when I was 14, 15, that's when she was born, 14. She was, my little doll. Like I know it sounds wrong, but she was so tiny, and I just had so much fun with her growing up. Um, I just felt like I got to see almost that side of me, that inner child, that little girl. Because growing up, there was a stage where I had to be a little bit more serious, and a little bit more surrounded by adults, and maybe take responsibilities, not because it was given to me. It was just me being a channeler. I felt all the feelings and all the emotions that I didn't really take time to just laugh and let go and be a little girl. It wasn't because my mom told me, no, it was just me personally. It was part of my growth. It was part of me noticing everything as a little girl. It wasn't something normal. So when my sister came in with all this joy and just not caring, the other day she was like, just ask for it. If they say no, I mean, it's no. Just ask for it. And the way she made things look so easy, it just gave me this, almost like ignited this new fire in me of, oh, that is part of me too. I had forgotten. I had forgotten how I was like that. When did I forget? So it showed me I needed that in that moment. Be that 14, 15-year old, and remember that everything is fun, and everything is easy, and everything just is. Because that's truly how I viewed life. But me going into the feelings and the emotions of everyone as a channeler, it's so easy for me to pick up on things that when I was younger, I didn't know what was mine and what wasn't. Sometimes I was like, why do I feel anger if I'm not angry? I have nothing to be angry about. And I didn't understand it was someone else's. So when my sister comes in and she reminds me of this mirror of what I am, I saw right through, and I was like, oh, I'm adapting to who's around me. So at age 16, I was learning on how to not adapt, because I received this little teacher who didn't even know she was being a teacher, who didn't even know she was giving me this beautiful mirror to be me. I had forgotten. And then I understood that other side of me as a channeler. Oh, it's because I'm really good at adapting, because once I pick up on an energy, I forget it's not mine. So I started learning how to do that, and remembering and connecting to that authenticity of me. So I needed that feistiness of hers, and when she's around, she brings it, and it's like, oh yeah, that's my sister. That's my sister. So you become very proud of noticing people's authenticity around you, how beautiful they light up, and how it's all connected. When you let yourself connect, when you let yourself be part of something, even if you feel different, when you let yourself even understand that everyone's fraction of light is supposed to shine, is supposed to be beautiful, just like yours is. And you start seeing all the beauty in everyone, and you start seeing all the potential in everyone. I always say this, we're all co-creators. We can all truly co-create it all. There is enough space for everyone. And I have people who tell me, Lexi, chill, like, is there really space for everyone? And I say, yes. Yes. When I channel, I see it. I truly see it. Maybe if it doesn't happen, it's because not everyone decides to truly be a co creator, because then we get into those roles that of the identifying as a victim, identifying as a savior, identifying as a villain, identifying with all these things that in reality are not to be part of our reality. It's not to be any of that, it's to just be in the now through the feeling of your fraction of light. And every time you set a goal that is future based, oriented, you have to understand you're setting an intention to get somewhere. If you're not getting there and you keep seeking it, chasing it, it's because you're not connecting to what your spirit is guiding you to do. You're not connecting to listening to what you're supposed to feel, how you're supposed to feel to truly co create it. What emotion, what energy and motion you're supposed to be in to truly connect to. So it's about letting yourself be. That's spirituality. After 56 minutes, you guys, that's what spirituality is. So it's about opening up and understanding that you're not supposed to know better, but rather experience life so that you can connect to tools, connect to experience, connect to life, connect to what's around you. Why did I need this? You start exploring and it becomes so beautiful. Start exploring and it all makes sense at the end. Today I was at my cousin's baby shower and I'm so excited. A new baby boy's on its way 2 months from now. I can't wait. But I was at my cousin's baby shower and we were talking about how I did this Q&A, which by the way, I'll be back to doing. I used to do so many on Instagram. I'm going to go back to doing it weekly. It's a thing now. Let's do this. Whoever's listening, call me out. Call me out if I don't do it by Thursday, okay? It'll probably be every Thursday again. That sounds like the right time. I like Thursdays. So I did a Q&A 2 years ago, 2022, in August, because we even looked at the date and everything. In August 2022, my cousin writes down on the Q&A, I had a dream with a big bunny and a small bunny. And all I responded was baby on its way. And then she DM'd me and was like, what do you mean? Who, what, where? All this, like, we were being dramatic, of course, to make it fun. And she was like, oh, and I was like, um, what did I say? Well, at the end, I just said, oh, she asked, really? And I was like, yeah, baby on its way. And then she said, but who? And I was like, yours. And she was like, oh my God, and all these things. Like, it wasn't something that she was like focused on. And 2 years later, she's pregnant. And it was something that was not in her mind, but I was seeing the energy because co creation is what you're connecting to. So she was really connecting to like the household, the slowing down, the patience, like all these things. And she was connecting to the energy and she didn't even know she was calling it in. I was like, I see it. I see it. I know it's a baby coming. So it was just very full circle and beautiful. And it's things that happen to me all the time because I get to really see beyond, but it's just beautiful to see that when you connect, you're even co-creating without noticing, you're co-creating without even planning. That's why spirituality is not about controlling. It's about being very conscious of the responsibility of your fraction of light, being very conscious of your responsibility of what you're channeling. How are you channeling this fraction of light? How are you deciding to be so responsible of you in this moment? And you start making it so fun and simple because you start building this foundation that you say, oh, I understand it. This is me. And these are the things I'm going to give purpose to. For example, me as Alexia Landa, I make sure my foundation is always focused on building my highest potential. My highest potential means that I'm okay with evolution. I'm okay with change. I'm okay with embracing change. And the most important part of all of this is understanding that life is not about healing. Life is about experiencing. So healing is a moment, it's a stage in your life. Then you embody the healing, and then you experience and you start building this foundation with all these tools. My foundation will always give my family purpose, my career purpose, because I love what I do, I truly do. And fun, easy, simple. That's always going to give it purpose. I always believe that everything is fun, simple, and easy. Doesn't mean I don't cry, doesn't mean I don't have tantrums. By the way, you can ask my family. I'm very dramatic sometimes, but to me, that's fun. Being dramatic is truly fun because I don't know. I don't know. It's just fun. I guess it's just always been my way. And being dramatic is almost like a love language because it just shows, to me, it shows I care. When I'm dramatic, it's because I care. It's like I really care right now, so I need to be dramatic. So it's about truly opening up to what you're going to give purpose to. And how are you going to start building this foundation? Who do you want to share it with? Who do you want to mirror? Be very self aware of who you're mirroring and why. Because we're not here to carry each other, we're here to truly, truly connect with one another. It's very different. So have fun. Don't make spirituality heavy. Don't make it about, I should look this way, I shouldn't wear this, I shouldn't do this. No, make it simpler. If it has a good intention, then why wouldn't you do it? And the good intention means that you're not harming anyone. We know what harms another person. So, and even if you're doing an action that seems like a very good action, but the intention is to harm or to show someone else you can do better than them, that's an intention that's not going to give you a consequence that you love. Consequences doesn't have a negative meaning. Consequence is just a result. So be very conscious of your intentions so that everything is connected to a consequence that just gives, so that you can receive what you give. You're always going to receive what you give. So whatever you want to wear, drive, be in, do in life, you can take this fraction of light and use it wisely because you are a fraction of light. So if you are, whatever you do in life, you're spiritual. It's just about choosing to be a co creator and connecting your consciousness to everything you do. That's all it is. I have clients who tell me, well, Alexis, because I work in an office and now this whole new spirituality thing tells me I shouldn't be working in an office and doing paperwork. I mean, we need people in offices doing paperwork. And if that's your passion, why would we go against it? That's beautiful. I admire all of you. Why? Why? Why do we have to stop letting people be them? Instead, use your fraction of light there consciously. Use your tools, use your foundation, bring in this new consciousness and awareness. Use the tool of kindness to the one that's not kind. And be like, you don't change me. If you're not kind, that's you. But I'm not going to be you. I'm not going to mirror you. You're angry? Okay, you're angry. You can be angry, and I'll set my boundary, but it doesn't mean I'll be angry with you because I don't want to be in that energy and motion. I don't want to be in that emotion. It doesn't look good on me. I don't like how it feels on me. So you start using that consciousness. You stop giving focus and attention to what it doesn't need it. Instead, you redirect, and you look at the person that is actually kind, you focus on them. You let that grow. You let that expand. You connect to that. So if you work in an office, you're spiritual too. If you work in fashion, you're spiritual too. Just use the tools. If there's people, and I don't even know why I said fashion, it just came up, but if there's people in any network that is toxic, don't give them the focus. Redirect. Use your tools. The tool of redirection is always going to say, okay, what do I want to connect to? What do I want to mirror? So that I can make that grow. And once they don't have the intention, they might want to learn. But don't judge them. Don't be the parent they're asking for. That's what they're asking for a parent who gets them in trouble, and then they can be the victim and you can be the villain. And don't go into the game of anything. We're not here to play games. We're here to experience and make life easy and simple. And yes, it can be tough sometimes, I know. But it doesn't mean it's impossible. I live my life this way. And I've had my moments. I've had my moments. And all I do is truly go to my foundation and look at my tools and say, okay, I'm spiritual. Yes, I've been called out on, oh my God, you shouldn't dress that way. Aren't you spiritual? I am. I channel. I I feel so connected to God. I co-create all the time. I feel love. I feel loved. It's simple. So you start being very authentic, and I don't become those people's victim at all. I just understand they're not connected to the energy I want to be connected to, so I disconnect. I connect to my own. And I understand that it's all divine, that everything comes in divine timing. I see them as teachers, and I truly become conscious of what I'm supposed to learn in that moment. I don't judge them, I don't try to change them, I don't, I'm not responsible for them. So I don't take any form of responsibility. I I truly look at my intentions for what I do, and I'm like, okay, I guess I just had a self check, slow down maybe I'm tired. How's my energy looking? And you start over again. So spirituality is very simple. It doesn't have to look a certain way, it doesn't have to sound a certain way, but it does feel very peaceful. The emotion sometimes is not peaceful. I've been in moments where I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? But I have so much faith that the feeling is peace, but the energy in motion is anxiety. And what is anxiety? Move. It's the moment to move. Energy is you receiving. Anxiety is you receiving energy to move. So it's the moment to move. So I do what I need to do, and done. That's all it was. It was a tool that I was receiving in divine timing. So don't see things as good or bad. See them as, what am I being told right now? How am I being guided? How is this a teacher? Become conscious and experience life authentically. So thank you everyone for being here. What a fun beginners episode. I did miss some questions. I'll be responding on the next episode for beginners. But if you also have other questions, DM me, email me, send them over. I'll start responding them. It was definitely a mix of notes and then me just connecting. So thank you again. I hope everyone has an amazing rest of your week. Remember, I'll be in New York all March. I feel like the channeler that's on the road, like I'm on tour or something, which is very exciting. I did have to change my dates from where I was going to be in Europe and change them to New York. So I'll also be posting about Europe dates very soon. So thank you everyone for connecting, for listening, for watching, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your week. Okay, I'm sending everyone so much love and light.